On the morning of August 21, 1996, in Moline, Illinois, 11-year-old Trudy Appleby vanished. Moline, a city on the banks of the Mississippi River, was a place where families lived closely connected lives. It was a community tied to the rhythms of the river, to its industrial roots, to neighborhoods where parents felt safe letting children ride bikes, play outside, and visit friends nearby. Trudy lived with her father, Dennis, in one of those neighborhoods. She was a bright, outgoing child. She loved swimming, loved spending time outdoors, and cherished her friendships. That morning, she asked her father if she could go swimming at Campbell's Island. The request was ordinary. Children across Moline knew Campbell's Island as a recreational area, a place where families kept cabins, where kids played along the sandy banks, and where boats filled the marinas during summer. It was freedom, adventure, and childhood fun. But Dennis told her no. For reasons he couldn't fully explain later, he felt it wasn't the right day for her to go. Not long after, neighbors saw Trudy in her driveway. A gray or silver box-shaped hatchback pulled up. Inside was a man in his 20s. He was someone Trudy seemed to know. She got in willingly, without hesitation. Witnesses would later tell investigators that it looked like a normal interaction. Nothing about it appeared threatening or forced. A car pulled away, and Trudy disappeared into history. By nightfall, when she still had not returned, panic filled the Appleby home. By the next morning, the neighborhood was searching, the police were involved, and the driveway where she was last seen became the starting point of a mystery that has lasted decades. To understand the weight of her disappearance, one must understand Moline in the 1990s. It was a working-class city, one of the Quad Cities, alongside Rock Island and East Moline in Illinois, and Davenport and Bettendorf in Iowa. Families were proud of their roots. Many worked for John Deere or related industries. Life was modest, steady, and tied closely to the river and to community ties. The mid-1990s were also a time before cell phones and widespread internet access. Children were often outside unsupervised, with parents trusting the environment. Bicycles, playgrounds, and swimming holes were the norm. Parents believed they knew who was safe, which neighbors could be trusted, and what places were part of everyday life. This context made Trudy's disappearance all the more devastating. In a time and place where families felt comfortable giving children independence, her vanishing shattered that sense of safety. Suddenly, Moline felt different. Parents became more protective. Children were no longer as free to roam. A blanket of unease covered the city. The investigation immediately faced challenges. Trudy had left no trace. Witnesses remembered the car, but the details were vague. No one had a license plate. The driver was described only generally. For years, that car haunted investigators and the family alike. Theories grew, fueled by the fact that Trudy was known to spend time with William Ed Smith, a family acquaintance. Smith had access to a vehicle similar to the one seen that day. He owned a boat and often took Trudy and other children to Campbell's Island. The idea that she might have gone with him willingly seemed plausible. Yet Smith was never formally charged. When he died in 2014, suspicion around him remained unresolved. David Whipple, Smith's son-in-law, and Jamison Fisher, another friend in the circle, were later named as persons of interest. Both had connections to the area and to Campbell's Island. Theories centered on a few possibilities. Some believe Trudy was taken out on the river. Mississippi is vast, with strong currents and deep waters. If something happened there, recovering her would be nearly impossible. Others suspected a cover-up. Perhaps an accident had occurred, and those present worked to hide it. Darker theories suggested intentional harm. The speculation never faded. Every anniversary brought new rumors, whispered names, and theories that added to the pain of not knowing. Campbell's Island itself is central to the story. Located on the Mississippi River, the island is both recreational and residential. It has marinas, sandy beaches, and homes where families spend summers. Children swim, families boat, and gatherings are frequent. For Trudy, Campbell's Island was a place of joy. She loved the water, the boats, and the fun of being there. For investigators, it became a place of suspicion. Boats were examined, properties on the island were searched. The waters were dredged more than once. Every lead pointed investigators back to the island, but no definitive evidence ever surfaced. The island became symbolic, a place of hope for answers and frustration at the lack of discovery. For the Appleby family, life was forever divided into before and after. Every August 21st became a day of mourning. Every year was marked not by milestones, but by anniversaries of loss. Dennis and Brenda carried their grief differently, but both refused to let their daughter's story fade. They attended vigils year after year. They held signs. They spoke to reporters. They told her story again and again. The community, too, rallied. Each vigil saw dozens, sometimes hundreds, of people holding candles outside the Moline Police Department. It became not just a ritual, but a statement. Trudy was not forgotten. Before the family, the vigil ended each year the same way. Still no answers, still no closure, still no Trudy. In August 2025, nearly 3 decades after Trudy disappeared, the case took a dramatic turn. A Henry County grand jury indicted Jamison Fisher on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of concealment of a death. Fisher had been named as a person of interest as far back as 2020. His connection to Ed Smith and David Whipple kept his name in the orbit of suspicion. He lived in the same circles, spent time in the same places, and was familiar with the island where Trudy loved to go. Prosecutors alleged that on the day of Trudy's disappearance, Fisher strangled her and then concealed her remains. While details of how investigators arrived at these charges remain limited, they have hinted that witness cooperation and long-studied evidence provided the breakthrough needed to finally move forward. At the time of the indictment, Fisher was already in custody in Iowa on unrelated charges. The indictment ensured he would now stand trial in Illinois for Trudy's case. The courtroom proceedings brought the case back into the spotlight. Decades-old pain resurfaced for the Appleby family, who now faced the possibility of a trial that could finally provide some answers. The charges of murder mean Fisher faces a potential life sentence if convicted. The concealment charge acknowledges the belief that he worked deliberately to hide what happened to Trudy, preventing her recovery for all these years. The arrest carried symbolic weight. It was not just about one man facing justice. It was about proving that time does not erase accountability. It was about showing that no matter how many years pass, cases like Trudy's remain alive in the hearts of investigators, families, and communities. For the Applebys, the indictment brought both relief and renewed grief. Relief that someone had finally been charged, grief that it had taken nearly 3 decades, and sorrow that Trudy herself has still not been found. Trudy Appleby's story is now part of the identity of Moline and the Quad Cities. It is told to new residents, passed from one generation to the next. Parents use it as a reminder to guard their children. Teachers speak her name at vigils. Her face has been printed on flyers, posters, and T-shirts for nearly 3 decades. Her legacy is one of resilience and remembrance. The Appleby family's determination has kept her case alive long after many other unsolved cases faded from public memory. The community's support has proven that even in grief, unity can endure. With the arrest of Jamison Fisher, her story has reached a turning point. It is no longer a cold case whispered about in shadows. It is an active prosecution, a case in court, with the possibility of answers at last. Still, the final measure of justice will only come when Trudy is found and returned to her family. Until then, her story must continue to be told. On August 21, 1996, 11-year-old Trudy Appleby stepped into a car and disappeared. For 29 years, her family searched, her community remembered, and her name endured. In 2025, with the indictment of Jamison Fisher, the possibility of justice grew stronger. Her story is about more than one child's disappearance. It is about the resilience of a family, the persistence of investigators, the determination of a community to never forget. It is about the truth that even decades cannot erase the need for answers. Trudy Appleby's name will always be spoken. Her story will always matter. And until she is found, until her family has peace, her legacy will endure as both a reminder of loss and a symbol of hope. Thank you for watching Fatal Secrets of True Crime. Subscribe for more stories like this. Real crimes, hidden truths, and the secrets they tried to bury. Your support helps keep these stories alive and the pressure on for answers. Till next time, remember, every secret eventually comes to light.